All right, Nick, let's talk about the Chicago Bears. The Bears had a big offseason, obviously, a lot of changes, whether it's coaching staff, front office, this team in general. I think the Bears, got a lot better in a lot of different places, but there's one place in particular I think people are starting to see the Bears have significantly improved, and we're starting to see the effects of it. Nothing's happened on the field yet, but we're seeing reports the Bears are skyrocketing in one position in particular. We'll get into that in 1 second here. But first, I'm Andrew. That's Nick, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, Nick, as I alluded to, the Bears have gotten a ton better in one position in particular. And everyone knows they significantly upgraded this offensive line. But when you start to see the reports, when you start to look at the data, I don't think people understand how significantly this offensive line has been upgraded. Let's get into some tweets here, some charts, and some data, and we can break it all down. So, first up, I have two charts from over on PFF talking about grading, and we're talking about centers and guards, the best in the entire league in the NFL here. And we have on the left hand side top 10 center rankings per PFF for this season. And what do you know? Drew Dahlman for the Bears, number 5 there, having the number 5 center in the NFL. That's really great for the Bears, but that's not it. We're going over to the right hand side, and you see the duos on guards ranking the best pair of guards in the NFL. The Bears are number 2 with Joe Thuney and Jonah Jackson there. This is incredible for the Bears because the Bears last season, offensive line, not too good, everybody knows. 24th in the NFL out of 32, possibly. Not great, but now they have two guys or two sets of interior positions in the top 5 and one in the top 2 in all of the NFL. I think this is a significant jump, but when you look at the data, it kind of makes it a little bit more clear. Let's look at this chart here showing the Bears 2024 O-line players, their grades and run blocking, pass blocking versus what they are just on paper so far this year for the 2025 class. And before we do that, I just want to say one thing. The Bears last year, pass blocking, they're pretty good overall. I believe they're ninth in the NFL in pass blocking total. So looking at the pass block grade, losing those guys, getting new guys in, and being able to come up just a little bit, that's significant. If you're already in the top 10 for pass blocking teams in the NFL, good for the Bears elevating that. But when you look at run blocking, they were not very good. They're able to get a 10-point jump in the run blocking department here, mainly due to Dahlman, his superior run blocking ability. Thuney really good as well, but Dahlman really a superior run blocker here for the Chicago Bears. And I think this just shows the Bears had a plan. They go out, they execute it, and they start to bring it in, and we're already seeing the effects. People are noticing the Bears. The Bears, when's the last time people have looked at this Bears offensive line and said they were the best at anything? I mean, this is a Bears offensive line. I think there's some bright spots last year. I think Darnell Wright was solid. He did a few good things last year, especially in the run blocking department. He was good. I think Braxton Jones was a decent tackle, but overall, saying they were the best at anything, not the case. I would argue now, looking at these grades and looking at these rankings, this is the best interior offensive line in all of the NFL this year. Whether with Thuney, Dahlman, and Jackson, this team is significantly better than they were last year. Complete overhaul, keeping and improving on a pretty good pass blocking grade, and absolutely substantially raising their run blocking grade as well. This Bears team doing a lot of really good stuff here for the offensive line. I just want people to see how good they have done here. I think this was really impressive. Curious what your thoughts are on this one, Nick. But before we get to you, Bears fans, in the comment section below, we're looking at the offensive line. We're talking about the upgrades they've made. I know you probably heard about it, thought about it, had a lot of time to simmer on this one. So I want to know, out of the upgrades they made, or even out of the players already on this offensive line, who do you think is going to make the biggest impact on this team? Do you think it's going to be one of these interior guys? Do you think the tackles are going to take a step up now with getting help in the interior? Who's going to make the biggest leap this year for the Chicago Bears on the offensive line? Let us know in the comment section below. But nonetheless, Nick, What are your thoughts on this latest out of Chicago?
So it's absolutely extraordinary for a couple reasons. One, anytime you have any offseason with this much volatility, right? You bring in a completely different coaching staff, you make a lot of moves. Usually you have some sort of drain of talent at some positions, especially positions where you're already pretty solid. Like you mentioned, their pass blocking grade already above seven. I think, like you said, top 10 already, around 73, just a little south of 73, according to PFF. Usually what happens when you lose an entire staff getting fired, in this case, some guys leave and follow that coaching staff, and you regress a little bit in an area where you had some strength. That's just naturally the way it works in the National Football League. Sometimes you lose good players and you have to replace them on top of trying to add good players. It's a tough business. We all understand it. But the Bears did a great job actually improving an area where they already were good in, despite the volatility, and they completely rocket shipped in the positive direction, the run blocking aspect, of this offensive line. And I think when you look at the Chicago Bears squad, it is very clear that they're creating a hybrid team dynamic between the reigning Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles and obviously what Ben Johnson have with the Detroit Lions. People looked at the hiring of Johnson and said, well, he's going to take what worked in Detroit and bring it to Chicago. I think that's only part of the story. I think Ryan Poles, he's sort of a Howie Roseman kind of thinker, coming up with different deals, intriguing deals, not afraid to make big moves. Sometimes they get positive reviews, sometimes it doesn't. Always willing to upset the apple cart if he helps it'll improve his team. You pair that Ryan Poles mindset with that Ben Johnson, and you have this hybrid Detroit Philly squad going down in Chicago right now. And I think that makes them incredibly dangerous because if you look at this offensive line, based on these improvements, they would be a top 8 offensive lineman on both sides, pass blocking and run blocking. The only team that was top 8 in those categories last year, and they're actually top 6 in both categories, was the Philadelphia Eagles. And we obviously know they went on to win the Super Bowl. So when you look at what's going on in Chicago, this is absolutely extraordinary. It's putting them in a perfect position to make a serious postseason run. We're not talking making a run to the postseason, but maybe even make some noise in it. Last year, with the hiring, or I should say the selection of Caleb Williams, Eberflus going into what a lot of people thought would be a pretty good year for the Bears, it obviously didn't work out that way. So many people, Rich Eisen, I think, famously said, 13-4 going to the NFC Championship game. We talked about it at the time. It felt premature. It felt too much that Caleb Williams was just going to replicate what CJ Stroud did Stroud's rookie year, and it was just going to be an easy road to hoe. It just isn't the case. It's hard in the National Football League until you have coach right, quarterback right, and infrastructure right. People always forget the third one. Getting the coach right and the quarterback right, that's incredibly hard. And obviously the Bears only had one of those two elements right last year, but getting that infrastructure, that third piece, is critically important. Peyton Manning didn't win his first Super Bowl until his defense got better, right? You look across the board here. It took a long time for Matthew Stafford to win a Super Bowl, eventually with the Los Angeles Rams. You look at great quarterbacks. I look at Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow. Burrow has no defense. Jackson, for most of his career, has had no wide receivers and no playmaking threats. They don't have their great quarterbacks with good coaches. They don't have the infrastructure around them to win titles. The Bears have done a perfect job here. They've got coach right. At least it seems this way when it comes to Ben Johnson. They've got quarterback right. I think we can all safe to say that they got quarterback right. But more importantly, or I should say just as importantly, they've got infrastructure right. And when you check all those 3 boxes, special things happen. It's not just going to be a one-year magical run. We're talking multi-year run of sustained success at the top of the NFC. That's where the Bears are at right now. And that's why this move, or the moves they made this offseason to improve their offensive line while maintaining their strengths up front, is so critical and so important. People talk about the big name moves. Oh, what you got Burden in the draft? You got Colston Loveland. Those are fantastic moves. We liked them at the time, and we still like them. They're going to be good players for the Bears. And I think that's a fair assessment to make. But the most important thing was getting this offensive lineman up to championship level, getting it up to playoff level across the board. That's what they did this offseason. People right now are focused, and we're no different. This channel, we fall into this trap too. We look at, what are the new rookies doing? What are these young guys? Who looks like a potential steal or a great developmental prospect? It's fun. It's engaging. We all love it. Everybody does. It's what makes this time of year great when it comes to the National Football League calendar. But really what wins you games is bringing in quality veterans at key positions, and the Bears did a great job of that. The data supports it. The anecdotes support it. All in all, right now, the Bears are looking very, very dangerous. They are a serious threat, not to make noise in the NFC, not to maybe compete for a playoff spot, to maybe even make a deep postseason run. They've got so many boxes checked right now. A lot of teams should be and probably are worried about this Bears squad.
Yeah, Nick, and you bring up, young rookies and you bring up infrastructure. I think that's important because the infrastructure of the offensive line, it's not face value. It's not just the guys that are starting. Although they are very, very good, the Bears went deeper than that as well. And we did a video specifically on new tackle out of Boston College, Ozzie Trapillo. He looks really good as well. That's another guy who he's not even considered in this starting lineup right now. Who knows if he works his way in there throughout the course of the offseason? It's possible, but at the very least, he's going to be a very valuable depth piece at this year for the tackle position. Who knows what he can do in the future? Then on top of that, they get guard Luke Newman out of Michigan State as well. Really interesting guy, very consistent. We haven't really talked about him yet, but the guy, two great FCS All American seasons at Holy Cross. Then he comes in to Michigan State. He does really well. He doesn't have a single game where he graded below 60 PFF overall grade last season at Michigan State. So decent, consistent, strong guard play out of Luke Newman. Bringing that guy in here, I think really, really good move by the Bears. So the Bears, the infrastructure of the team is right, but the infrastructure of the offensive line, they brought in more depth. They didn't just go out and say, all right, let's get the key highlight, high note guys like Dahlman, Thuney, bring them in, get our starters locked down. They focused on the depth as well, and they said, all right, what's going to happen? How do teams make playoff runs? How do teams make themselves go deep? And they have to understand injuries are a thing. Injuries happen. What do we do? What do we have in the ways of guys that can come in, step in? And how do we think about the future of this offensive line as well? You get really promising rookies, maybe a guy more developmental like Luke Newman, bring him in, have him be shaped into something, be a depth piece, get Ozzie Trapillo, a guy that we think is pretty good. There's a chance that he could even start this year eventually, but at the very least, really solid depth piece at tackle as well. So I think the Bears overall, really great season. I love how you bring up the infrastructure because this offensive line is set up to succeed. It's not just like Caleb Williams, like you said, it's not just bringing in Caleb Williams. It's not just bringing in Dahlman and Thuney and saying, okay, we've got these two guys and we're set forever. Nope, they thought deeper than that. And this Bears team, Ryan Poles, really great job so far.
And just one final point to end on. And if you're not aware, people watching this video, we cover the vast majority of the NFL. We essentially on this channel cover the entire National Football League, at least the interesting stories and the smart moves. That's what we focus on. And we hear a lot from a bunch of fan bases. I'm looking at the Cincinnati Bengals. I mentioned them earlier, where they obviously are so ecstatic. They have Joe Burrow and great playmakers, but they have this deep sinking dread that they're wasting Burrow because they don't have interior offensive linemen. They don't have that infrastructure the Bears went out and got. They're like, oh, we're wasting Bro. Have we wasted Bro? You listen to Houston Texans fans, they feel that about CJ Stroud. They got their best quarterback in franchise history right now in Houston, and now they're maybe wasting him because they didn't invest correctly interior on the offensive line. You hear the same thing out of Miami. You hear the same thing out of multiple locations. Having your great quarterback, young quarterback, franchise quarterback, you got him. It's what everybody wants and tries so hard to get. But numerous fan bases and numerous teams are realizing that they didn't put the right investments there, and they've squandered at least the early part of those players' careers. The Bears, Ryan Poles, did not do that. That's so critically important. It sounds so simple. Most teams screw it up. You listen to the fan bases like we do, they can't believe their leadership screwed it up. The Bears did not make that mistake, and that's one of the many reasons why they're set up very well coming into this season and for the future as well.